morning, Justice Warriors. How are you guys? Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It is Saturday, November 12th. It is just about 20 to noon, and sorry it took me a while to get everything up and running after I made my little announcement that I was going to. There's just, it's always something, this, that, and the other. So how is everybody today? Good afternoon, Rogue House. Yeah, I said good morning. It's still morning technically for another 19 minutes. But you might be in a different time zone. So, my goodness, how sad is the news about Trinity Backus? I was very adamant that I was not going to get distracted by any other cases, and I'm still adamant that I will not get distracted by any other cases. However, whether Trinity Backus's case is in fact connected to Kylie's in any way, shape, or form or not, I just find it very distressing that we have another missing 16-year-old girl in the same area, Nevada County. The same sheriff's department investigating a 16-year-old missing in quasi similar circumstances, just kind of run of the mill, normal activity. Trinity went missing on a weeknight, another 10:30. Seriously? Another 10:30. What are the chances? Anybody who does not catch on to what I'm referring to, it's one of Ryan Upchurch's moments of gold, in my opinion, in his series about Kylie Rodney and the whole fishy story with her. Another 10:30. There were so many 10:30s being tossed around in the events leading up to her disappearance in August from Prosser Creek Family Campground, allegedly, that is also in Nevada County. I guess these two were like an hour apart. So sad for Trinity. So awful and devastating. Another 16-year-old lost life way too soon. Also outdoors. So there are some similarities, and it appears that these two might have run in similar circles. It appears that there are maybe acquaintances that they had in common or something like that. But also they have in common missing person cases in Nevada County, and also in common autopsies in Placer County. I would assume that that's where Trinity Backus's autopsy is going to have to happen, since Nevada County apparently doesn't have their own facility for that. So they contract with Placer County. Good old Sheriff Wu in charge of everything over there. So it's just devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And as I repeat again and again, I am staying focused on our lovely Ms. Kylie Rodney and her tragedy. However, I definitely want to bring attention to the lost life of Trinity Backus. So thank you, folks, for bringing her up, and thank you for your understanding when I was not wanting to speak about her missing person case. There just wasn't enough information. Like, was she really missing? I mean, the whole thing was so bizarre. It's still bizarre. It's very tragic. So thanks for coming on. You gave me a reason to take a break between running the carpet cleaner and mopping the floor. This is a sad story, however. Oh, Fred Field, aren't you the most perfect man in the world? Running the carpet cleaner and mopping the floor. It is a super sad. And no Amber Alert. Thank you, Maud. I didn't realize there was no Amber Alert. I read something about how they had 140 people searching for her, but her stepdad or her ex-stepdad. I'm not sure what the status is with her mother, Andrea Stanio, and her mother's second husband or estranged husband, Christopher Stanio. So Andrea and Christopher Stanio apparently have been married. I don't know if they still are. And Christopher Stanio is, in fact, a deputy for the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. So that's kind of odd to have a stepdaughter of a deputy go missing and then be found in a ditch not too far away on a weeknight when she's having a slumber party at her aunt's house. The story is very, very odd. I hopped onto a Squirrels on Fire panel briefly yesterday evening before I went to bed, and they were discussing the case. And I just wanted to say hi to people and kind of check out what was going on because the news had just been circulating about the discovery of Trinity. And it's very, very odd. It's extremely odd. So I guess there was a Trinity Backus that was involved in a domestic violence 911 call that is a different Trinity Backus in the area. So that I think the white male in Corona, California, Bradley Crowder, 35 years old, and a different Trinity Backus were involved in a 911 domestic violence call, according to my small amount of research that I've done online. So, how sad. Let me read some of your other comments. Found only a half a mile from the house. Right. Kind of reminiscent of 55 feet from the party. Justice, where can I find all these wonderful pictures of Kylie? Oh, the wonderful pictures in the thumbnail or the wonderful pictures that I use in general? Because I just kind of scour the internet for good photographs of Kylie and other types of things. And yeah, unfortunately, there's not such an abundance of great photos of Kylie online. So every single one of them is kind of a treasure. So I don't know if that answers your question, Kathleen. I'll go ahead and pin that just to get the pinning message situation going on. Both found really close to last known location. CCTV knows her and her family. Oh my goodness, I'm heartbroken for her. How did they find her? That's a really good question, Michelle. So they said that they had 140 people out searching for her, but I don't know the exact circumstances of the locating her. Hey, actually got the notification you are live. Awesome. And 0.4 miles from the house in a ravine. Aunt gave her LSD. Mike, I had heard that and I was waiting to get more information. It sounded like the aunt, maybe the uncle, and Trinity all were on acid. Very odd on a weeknight, on a school night at 10:30. So you guys will probably also be interested to know, as I was like, another 10:30. I also thought, well, why are these people all using this 10:30? Is it because things actually happened at 10:30? Or is it kind of the bewitching hour because of the curfew time for minors? So I looked it up. The curfew time for minors in California, 7 nights a week, is 10 p.m. until sunrise. So when it's dark out after 10 p.m., teenagers are not allowed to be in public places. They're not allowed to be like in restaurants or movie theaters. They are not allowed to be out and about except in a situation where they're actually working or on their way home from work, or maybe even on their way to work if they have, a job at, say, like a Speedway or AM/PM Mini Mart. Did I pin that one? Yeah, I did. The aunt gave her LSD. That's just awful. I was watching my phone, so I didn't miss your live. Thank you. That's really nice. So yes, of course, these two cases could be 100% unrelated, but let's wait and see. They are only 4 months apart. They're only roughly an hour's drive apart. Um, Same age, both beautiful, both very tall and slender and athletic. Um, there are a fair amount of similarities, both partying. Why on earth would Trinity be dropping acid with her aunt on a school night? These people. Oh. So let's see. If they had to whack stuff out of the way to get down there, how did she get down there without already whacking stuff out of the way? Such a brilliant question, all the shirts. Such a brilliant question. Trinity said she was going to her boyfriend's house 10 miles away. That's the story I think that the aunt is giving. They're not even giving the names of the aunt and the uncle that I've seen. They're saying something about a slumber party with her friend, but there's no friend really mentioned. However, I haven't been paying that close of attention to the case because I'm hyper focused on Kylie. So, if anybody has any information they want to share, please feel free today. I'll allow it. I did want to mention that going on to the Squirrels on Fire panel briefly, it was just, I think, maybe 30 minutes or less. I mostly just wanted to hop on there to say hi to my homies, basically. They're very, very cool folks. However, I did want to mention that there was a certain individual who hopped on right after I hopped on, who kind of monkey wrenches any conversation and just kind of shuts it down intentionally, unintentionally, accidentally. I don't know. But I just think it's important for the true crime community to pay attention to that. Pay attention to anybody who tends to come into group discussions and shut down the discussion, whether they're doing it on purpose or not. I don't think it should be tolerated. I think these discussions are extremely important. To me, they are anyway. And I would imagine to most of you they are too. So they didn't hold adults accountable for giving kids drugs and alcohol in California. So it'll be another accident. We are probably all fuming about the statement of no foul play suspected, no suspicious circumstances. Are you kidding me? A dead 16-year-old in a ravine is not suspicious in and of itself, is not evidence of potential foul play in and of itself. These people are out of control. And how frightening to think that her autopsy is in the hands of Sheriff, Coroner, Public Administrator Wayne Wu in Placer County. It's my understanding that Shannon Moon contracts autopsies with Placer County because Nevada County does not have the facility. So I could be wrong. Maybe she'll contract it to a different um, jurisdiction because of the controversy with Wayne Wu. But if both of these 16-year-olds are processed under the authority, the supervision of Sheriff Wu, who has no business being in law enforcement, really has no business not being in jail, in my humble opinion. And let me say, everything I say here is simply my opinion. It's just for conversation, opening up a discussion, and hopefully educational and possibly entertaining. Although it's not my goal to entertain, it's my goal to educate. So, this is YouTube, and that's just the nature of YouTube. So I like to go over that each and every time. Busted Flush says, I don't like that either. When one person on panel talks over everybody, I leave. And, the discussion that really was making me sick was a couple of people talking about Jagger's love for Kylie. There's no love that a narcissist can experience for another person. a personality disordered narcissist, sociopath, borderline. Um, they only love themselves. They don't have the capacity. They have no empathy. They do not have the capacity for love. So for anybody to say anything to that degree about that kid, to me, is not just absurd, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. For anybody who hasn't seen yet, Mr. Westfall put up another post a couple days ago, again mentioning Kylie's dumb ass and how much he misses it. What a sick, sick kid. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So yeah, I could not take that part of the conversation. I was like, see ya. I'm out. Last night's live with squirrels, the short video of Nate H and the other boy talking about Gateway Mountain Center, talk about mind control. They spoke with flat affect and dead eyes. Ugh. You know, we've got to pay close attention to Nate Hambrick and Jagger Westerfall. Not only did they both have allegedly romantic liaisons with Sammy Smith, they also allegedly both had romantic liaisons with Kylie Rodney. And they both also allegedly have extremely wealthy parents, extremely wealthy grandparents, and their families go way back, and they have a lot of financial ties to each other. So this whole community of Truckee is looking more and more fucky, right? Am I right? I mean, yeah, it's cute and it's funny, but not funny. Um, it's looking more and more like they are heavily reliant on illegal means of income. And I'm sure there's many legal means of income, like the whole skiing industry and clean energy and water. Um, but who here is old enough to have seen or know about the movie called Chinatown? The movie with Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway? It's an old movie from the 70s. It's one of those modern day classics, and it's set in Los Angeles. And the movie script is almost like it's about Truckee and the water rights and the dead people in the water, in the reservoir. It's gross. It's absolutely gross. It's an old story that just keeps replaying with different characters. So Gregory Worth says yes, and Mrs. G says yes. Highly unlikely says I am. Mrs. Stewie says good movie. Mary Thomas says yes, yes, yes. Turquoise says yes. Peg says me. Heavenly Cloud says I remember the name, but I will have to rewatch it to remember. Chinatown, that's what this reminds me of, my mod says. Dilly Owen says yes, but I can't remember it. My brain is slow now. LOL. And then a whole bunch more, right? Yes. Gangster Squad too, the mod says. I don't think I've seen Gangster Squad, but I've heard about that. I'm going to write that one down because that one keeps coming up. You know, I think the first movie that I mentioned in relationship to this whole scenario was a cartoon, was an animation that I loved. I thought it was fabulous. It was called Rango. And was it Johnny Depp who plays Rango? It's just an adorable animation about a chameleon in the desert and all the politics with the water. And it's so much of an adult's storyline. It's pretty much the same storyline as Chinatown. And, you know, I think that was the first movie that I made mention of. And I was almost doing it tongue in cheek, like I really wasn't even that serious. And then, sorry about the noise. And then other movies kept coming up as well. Wasn't her stepfather in Nevada, these agencies who just busted 500 for sex trafficking? Yes, it sounds like you've been watching Kevin Neese as well, who I really think is spot on. Thank you, James LaCroix. So I just pinned his comment. Wasn't her stepfather in Nevada, ABD, all these agencies who just had busted 500 sexual trafficking? You know, with sex trafficking, I brought up yesterday that you don't just have, the exotic dancers and escorts and these things that people like to say are victimless crimes, that these people get into this industry out of their free will. And the evidence shows that people do not get into it out of their free will. And once they're in it, they cannot get out. The average age, you guys, are you ready for this? I used to do a lot of volunteer work in this field, actually, in Portland, Oregon. Average age, do you want to take a guess? Let's just see a few guesses. Just punch them in there, and or I'll just tell you. It's a lot lower than you're going to guess. It's 12. So not only Laughingstock says 9, Heavenly Cloud says 10, Jennifer Taylor says 13, Mrs. Stewie says 13, another 13. Right. So, 12, 13. You got to remember that there's going to be people like, say, JonBenet Ramsey that bring that average way down. There's stories of very, very young toddlers, but it's rare that somebody is, say, 20 and on their own volition says, hey, let's check this out. This looks like a good job. It's much more of like a Jeffrey Epstein, what's her name? Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, that nightmare like Cruella de Vil. These women who prey on young girls are almost sicker than the men who prey on these young girls. I mean, they're all sick. They all deserve the death penalty, in my humble opinion. They use all ages but prefer littles. Yes, it's so disgusting. Summer Wells, Michael Vaughn, both 5. Thank you, Heavenly Clouds. Yeah, these other cases, just so much gaslighting. And I personally know of a victim of 7, but she was groomed from birth. And that's so often how it happens. Jagger was in Mexico picking up his car in July, leaving Mama Bear messages, Kylie's mom. Yes, it's very suspicious. Absolutely suspicious. The whole Mexico thing, the whole Kylie's mom, very suspicious. Kylie's stepdad, very suspicious. I went down the rabbit hole yesterday with the Hells Angels in Truckee. Apparently their president's funeral was in Truckee. Oh, when was that, Peg? I kind of forgot all about that whole thing. I mean, Hells Angels are what went wrong with that Rolling Stones concert at Alameda, where one of the people in the audience was shot by a Hells Angel because they allegedly pushed the motorcycle over. The Rolling Stones had hired Hells Angels to be their security detail, which they later realized was not a good idea. Shocking. I could always not say that crazy first name either. Yes, her last name is Maxwell. Yeah. Gazane, just Gizzards Maxwell. Can we just call her Gizzards? That works for me. No, it was in Stockton, California. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know it was in the Bay Area, I thought near Oakland, but I might be crossing my wires with something like the last concert of Alameda or something. I know it was back in the 70s. I'm a big Rolling Stones fan, and that is one of the most tragic events in all of Rolling Stones history. And honestly, when I was a teenager, I studied Rolling Stones history like nobody ever has, probably, other than like a biographer. I was a little obsessed with Mick Jagger. The lodge locked up is rumor, hearsay, no proof. again, sorry for all the noise. This is why Saturdays are rough. Jagger bringing car from Mexico. Was he transporting something for the cartel? Patty cakes. I think the answer is in the question, as I think the answer is so often in most questions. Yeah, why was he bringing a car back from Mexico? And who is given permission by the authorities to drive a car into the US at the Mexican border? I mean, that place is just crawling with all kinds of criminal activity and law enforcement, right? So, yeah, let me get back to what I was saying about how can these two incidences not be related when they are only an hour away from each other? And think about relativity too. Like everything's relative. For instance, people from Alaska, if you're within 1,000 miles of somebody from Alaska, they consider you like right next door. I'm not kidding. Anybody from Alaska knows that. So, in this area of Northern California, I was mentioning just yesterday that everything in the Bay Area is about an hour away, even if it's just a hop, skip, and a jump. If you're going to get in a vehicle and try to travel by car, you're going to get tangled up in all kinds of traffic and one way streets and trolleys and things. So, everything's pretty much an hour away and nobody really worries about it. Los Angeles is probably even worse. Everything is probably like 5 miles away and 2 hours away. I mean, I know it had been like that a while back, and I doubt that that has changed much. My point being that uh, Prosser Creek Family Park or campground and where this happened in Nevada County are roughly 60 minutes apart from what I gather. And, this is small town area. This is a real small town rural area. So you've got, like I said, these kids that are kind of quasi from the same social circles, same age, same area, same coroner, same Nevada County sheriff uh, doing the search for the missing person. So, you know, both of these 16-year-old girls' boyfriends were involved to some extent. Both these 16-year-old girls' drugs may have been involved to some extent. Both these 16-year-old girls, 1030, another 1030. Seriously. So, what I was saying about 10 p.m. being the curfew is that perhaps 10:30 is kind of safer than saying like 11 or midnight. But to me, it makes me wonder if it's like the bewitching hour, like when bad things happen after curfew. You don't want to go too far after curfew because you don't want to get prosecuted for allowing your kid to be breaking curfew. So if it's just 30 minutes, it's still kind of 10. Um, I don't know how many people know this. I don't know if this is like common knowledge, but most bad things that happen at about 3 to 4 in the morning. And when I say bad things, I'm talking about unaliving self types of things. Um, a lot of crime. 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. is kind of considered the bewitching hour and a busy time for first responders, especially in a big city. So, um, you know, a lot of our grandparents used to say nothing good happens after midnight, right? So there's no reason for you to stay out after midnight, even if you don't have a state curfew. But obviously, California was having all kinds of trouble to have to initiate a curfew of 10 p.m., even for Friday night and Saturday night. That kind of surprised me. I figured that it would be earlier on weeknights than on weekends. But they just don't need the activity. They don't need the teens and the drugs and the crimes. And, they're obviously trying to keep a handle on it, but it's not working out so well in cases like Trinity's and Kylie's. The only thing the parents did in Truckee for their children was to clean up all their shit at 4 a.m. Thank you, Dilly Owens. Yeah. Um, Nothing good after dark happens. That's cute. I like that. They tell us in the movies what is going on. We accept it as a movie. So Trinity was at her aunt's house. Her aunt did not run out with her to check on her. These people are so evil, in my opinion. Right, Heavenly Clouds. I'm gonna pin that. The story does not add up. The story that I've gathered and gleaned is that Trinity's aunt is the one who gave her LSD, and that Trinity's significant other, or Trinity's aunt's significant other, was also on LSD. I haven't heard of any other teens that were in the house, although the story was that there was a slumber party in the house. So the aunt is the source of information, and she sounds about as reliable as Sammy. It sounds like she had went to, according to her, look for Trinity to tell her that it was bedtime at 10:30, and that she might have had a conversation with her, and Trinity said, I'm going to get a breath of fresh air, that she went outside for fresh air, and she was wearing her socks, her jammy pants, an argyle sweater, and a maroon bathrobe, and she went outside in the snow, never to be seen or heard from again. So that story to me sounds suspicious. It sounds like a story. Not sure if you ever saw that show, How I Met Your Mother, Nothing Good Happens After 2 a.m. I've seen that show. That's an adorable show, but I don't remember that from it. Basically, I probably missed that one. Was watching Squirrels on Fire, and on the map there is growing facility close to where Trinity was at. Thanks, John Courtney. Let me just pin that one. Yeah, the marijuana growth, and again, just yesterday I was speaking to the mass income that the state of California used to have a corner on the market of marijuana growth. That was theirs. And then, of course, dealing with cartels, that's been an ongoing thing. And now dealing with all these other states having growth facilities, having it become legalized. Um, and when it's legalized and there's other states, that's stepping on the toes of the cartels, to put it simply. So we're already over half an hour. I do want to keep this one a little bit short. That's nuts. So drugs are allowed to an extreme then. If you look at that where Trinity was, there was a big X on the ground. Oh my goodness. These people are insane. I really think it's all about the money. I think it's all about the money. But I'm also very suspicious of, just like suspicious of Ms. Kylie Rodney's biological mother and her new husband. I'm also suspicious of Trinity Backus's biological mother and her new husband. So, the thing with law enforcement and crime is that crime is job security for law enforcement. And I have the highest respect and appreciation for first responders and other people, military, people who put their lives on the line for the greater good. To me, there's nothing more noble than that. And no good deed goes unpunished, right? But then when you have the bad apples, law enforcement is immune from most prosecution of criminal activity, police immunity. It's a necessary element of police work. However, there are law enforcement officials who take that immunity and abuse the heck out of it and just do whatever they want. Marijuana in California is grown in Humboldt County, Northern California. Right, but it's grown so many places. I mean, Michigan is huge for marijuana growth these days. I don't know how long Michigan has been huge for marijuana growth these days, but I know it's absolutely huge. If they say left, it means right. I figured Lindsay's spirit animal is a basset hound. Get it? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'll highlight that if you want to elaborate. Basset hound. I mean, are they like marijuana drug sniffing dogs or something? CNY just ended a live video where a friend or known person to the aunt stated, albeit of different information. So the story was changed a few times already. Wow, money, 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 money. Oh, goodness. Oh, Dilly Owen says her face is droopy. It's all droopy like Basset Hound, her eyes and everything. You know, like a cartoon character, like a Disney cartoon. I can see that. Basset hounds are great hunters, the mod asked, but no, Dilly just explained herself. Thanks for explaining that. Yeah, that is cute. Sarah J says, I meant if you look at where Trinity was from the sky, it shows a large X. It was Squirrel that found that, and that mother and aunt have a record. Goodness. Oh, breaks my heart. I also want to go back to something that I was saying yesterday that I've said before about the story with Jesse James Hollywood that was made into a movie called Alpha Dog, starring the lovely Justin Timberlake. That kid is amazing. Not such a kid anymore. I'm sure he's like 40. Anyway, that whole story is so similar to Kylie's whole story, I think, and sounds like it's very similar to this story too. Trinity Backus. So again, to recap, Nick Markowitz, I think is the victim's name, and his family had to fight for years and years. It took 6 years for them to get Jesse James Hollywood arrested for the murder of their 15-year-old son, who was essentially abducted as a threat for a $1,200 drug debt. And my guess is that that could easily be what was partially going on with Kylie's situation and potentially what has been going on with Trinity's. Although I know very little about Trinity's. I think we all know very little about Trinity's, but just with what that comment was. Did I pin that one? Let me see. Sarah J is the last one I pinned. I mean, if you look at where Trinity was from in the sky, it shows a large X. It was Squirrel that found that, and that mother and aunt have a record. Yeah, Squirrels on Fire is just amazing with that stuff, isn't she? And last night I was so pleased that when I came on to say hi to everybody, Squirrel Girl came on to say hi to everybody, and I was able to say hi to her directly, like in real life, on cyberspace. But still, I'm really appreciative of the great work that both of those squirrels do, and I just think it's adorable. I love rodents. I love squirrels and mice and you know hedgehogs and other cute chipmunks. Chipmunks are super cute. Marijuana is grown all over California. Humboldt is part of the Emerald Triangle, Mendo, Humboldt, and Lake County, where the war on drugs took place in the 80s and 90s and traumatized many children. And a lot of people lost their lives in the 80s war on drugs in that area and were shot up. I mentioned this yesterday in a very similar Scarface type of reality. Not exaggerating at all. I mean, everybody knows Scarface, right? We all remember that movie. That kind of scarred our national psyche, so to speak. But that was a very real depiction of cartel lifestyle. And a lot of these extremely wealthy people live in that cartel lifestyle. So, yeah, I highly recommend Alpha Dog for anybody who hasn't seen it. I think that it will really give you a mindset to understand what was going on for Kylie and possibly Trinity. I'm sure we'll learn more. Supposedly her Instagram was scrubbed already. I believe it. Yeah, they do that. Especially if you've got these people, these extremely wealthy, powerful people Hembricks, they're going to be controlling the internet. They're going to be scrubbing things. They're going to be controlling what gets Googled, what gets suppressed. They're going to be controlling who's having technical difficulties. Squirrels on Fire has been freezing up a lot on her own lives, and she's, I gather, some type of like computer genius whiz. Like she puts all of her own um, equipment together, and she just has a lot of skills and knowledge there. So for her to keep freezing up like that, I find very suspicious. She was freezing up again last night. Squirrels of Fire got a strike last night. Live ended abruptly, but she came back on and went on for even more hours. Weird. Who the heck gave her a strike last night? She's kind of a lightning rod, and she just is embracing it. Like the more she's getting crap like that, the more she digs her heels in and stands strong and keeps on keeping on. What I see living most of my life along I-5 is that criminals these days look for easy to access public forests along the interstate. This enables them places to hide out while they move product. Wow, that's pretty profound. Let me see if I can pin that successfully. Pin. All right, so let's read a few more of your messages, and I'll review my notes, and then we'll wrap up. Squirrels on Fire watches Zanime trying to hack into her computer, right? Oh, so Phantasmic Ether, you think Zanime was the one who did the strike against her, or Dana Berger says Tony Doggy? I could see that. Let's see, there was a neighboring county to Nevada County in California where there was some corruption with the sheriff's department, and they just got busted and are being brought to justice. I hope Shannon Moon gets caught. An Illuminated Mind says people were unfair to you on last night's stream. That video Jagger recorded was odd, also considering she has a high slit dress and it was from the ground, and he is ex-boyfriend and claims she belongs to him. Aw, Illuminated Mind. I didn't think they were being unfair to me. I just thought they were being stupid. So Illuminated Mind is referring to me bringing up the video that Jagger posted saying she doesn't know that I recorded this. She never knew that I recorded this, or something like that. Or maybe he even said it to her. You never knew that I recorded this. Anyway, when he posted it on social media, and I thought it was extremely creepy, even before I realized the dynamic was that they were probably already on a break when that happened. And you can kind of see it in his body language. The way he's approaching her is almost like a little lost puppy, like begging, hoping that she's going to allow him to make an affectionate move on her. And she does, and they hug and embrace, and it's cute and warm. And then it gets creepy, and they start doing some funny things with their arms, and it's not creepy yet. But then, in my opinion, when he picks her up and pretends he's going to throw her in the water, that's creepy. And then it's even creepier when he does it a second time. And then when she puts her red shiny platform toes of her shoes on his crotch and says, I'm going to kick you in the dick, she was not playing. She was not playing. And he knew that. He turned around, covered his crotch, and scampered away with his tail between his legs. So, that video can be looked at as an example of their ongoing dynamic. And it's not a healthy dynamic. It's not an appropriate dynamic. Whether they were on a break or not is immaterial. And for anybody to videotape you without your knowledge is also creepy. So let me just make my point, because these two people were like, oh, Jagger loved her. And yeah, I make videos of my family without them knowing all the time. Okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. And I didn't get into it. I just signed off and said goodnight. But what I'm talking about is Jagger is a professional photographer. He has a good friend who's a professional videographer. You've got that king douchebag of the Catfish crew, who's both a professional photographer and videographer. You've got all these Catfish crew people whose icons on social media go directly into dark web portholes from hell. My thought, and I didn't finish my thought on the live last night because I just was going to save it for here anyway, is that Jagger more than likely made videotapes of Kylie routinely without her knowing, and was perhaps profiting off of photography and videotapes that he made of her without her knowing. And I'm not going to say it explicitly, but you know where I'm going, like Paris Hilton style, Kardashian style. That's a huge thing. It's a huge thing worldwide, but especially in California, and especially on the dark web, and especially for big money. Dilly Owens says, Jagger loves Kylie. Sam's hot for Jagger. Then comes Kate and Jagger live with Lindsay. Live with Lindsay. Damn, I guess Jagger's a hot tamale. Gross. Yeah, he's pretty gross. I think he's disgusting. Yeah. Oh, please remember to like the live, my mod says. I love it. She said, least remember to like the live, and then fixed it with please. So yes, if you don't mind hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing if you feel so inclined. I'm going to look over my notes quickly and wrap this one up. Yeah, I believe, getting back to that question or statement earlier, I think it was Dilly Owens about Jagger driving his car up from Mexico in July, maybe, that he could have been muling drugs for the cartel. Oh, and then he put on his social media, I think right after he returned from that, does this get me into the Truckee Mafia? I caught that on one of Kevin Neese's yesterday. So I want to give the shout out to Kevin Neese, who is just doing phenomenal work on this, in my opinion. So, going back to the creepy statement from Lindsay and somebody else at Kylie's celebration of life, when they said that balance has been restored. What kind of balance is restored when your teenage daughter is deceased and likely at the hands of her frenemies? Like a drug debt kind of balance? I'm just asking a question. I am simply asking a question. I think we need to find out more about Trinity Backus's biological mom, Andrea Stanio. Is that how you spell it? Stanio. And her second husband. I don't know if they were still married or if they were separated. Christopher Stanio, Stanio. I did look him up. He is a deputy currently with Nevada County Sheriff Christopher Stanio. What the heck is going on there? And is he going to have immunity with anything that may have, he was one of the people investigating Kylie's missing person or death investigation. Both of the counties, Nevada County and Placer County, were both working on both the missing persons case and the death investigation. With Ms. Kylie Rodney's case, it started with Placer County because that's where the lodge is located, is Placer County. And so it was also Nevada County because they knew they were looking at that Prosser, the Prosser County or the Prosser family campground that was actually Nevada County. So they both were working it heavily from go. And then when they discovered her in the lake there in the Prosser Creek Reservoir, then it kind of more officially became Nevada County's case, but still Prosser County was just as heavily involved. As you know, then the Nevada County Sheriff contracted with the morgue that is Placer County and run by Sheriff Wayne Wu. So, they're almost one and the same entity in my mind from what I've seen with these cases. So I just want to really point that out that, yeah, we've got two different sheriff departments right next door to each other. And then keep in mind that Kate Cuneo's uncle, Dave Cuneo, is a sheriff's deputy, one county on the other side of Placer County in Sacramento County. So interesting that Kate Cuneo's uncle, is the same exact profession as Trinity Backus's stepdad, Christopher Stanio. Coincidence? Okay, let's go with this one. Moxie McMahon. This is worth mentioning. A news report said this morning that Trinity told her aunt she was going to her boyfriend's house in Grass Valley, who lets their niece walk 10 miles with no shoes. Right. I know. I've heard something about that. And that, there's been speculation that maybe her boyfriend was coming to pick her up. So yeah, again, we've got a boyfriend involved, just like with our dear Kylie Rodney, Ms. Kylie Rodney, as I like to say. So thanks so much for joining me, you guys. In signing off, I want to say have a fabulous weekend. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more material coming out with Trinity's tragedy, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more coming out with Ms. Kylie Rodney's tragedy too. I think there's just been a huge cover up, and the more they cover up, the more they're demonstrating that they're covering up. So I just don't think that's going to go so well. I hope not. Anyway, take care of yourself. Enjoy your weekend. Eat your protein, your vegetables, your fruits. Produce is so important, you guys. 5 servings minimum every day, and that's conservative. Really, it's more like 9 for adults. So the more the merrier. You can't really have too much fruits and vegetables, so just try to at least count 5 servings a day, any way you can get them. Soup is good, juice is good, raw, sauteed, anything. Fruits and veggies and protein. You know what I'm talking about. It's like an instant fix. Like, you will feel better immediately, no matter what you're dealing with. It's instant gratification, really is. So is exercise. So take a walk, stretch, get some fresh air, get some exercise, take care of yourself, be safe, stay hydrated. Be kind to yourself and others. And, I'm not preaching when I tell you guys this at the end of every live. I'm reminding me, because it's so easy to forget the simple basics, right? And I always say, get back to the simple basics. It's the best thing we can do. And Phantasmic Ether says, it snowed here, no exercise. Well, you better do your stretches. You can do those indoors. So, I'm going to pin this one real quick. James LaCroix says, I still believe that was running Kylie away and a homeowner reported possible abduction. I believe it too. So I think we're going to find out more and more. Thanks so much, you guys. I love you. I appreciate you to the moon and back. Have a great weekend. And I'll look forward to a Monday morning live with you.